Hello, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jerry Callahan, the inventor of the technology behind the HeatWorks Model 1, and I want to spend some time today showing you how to install the HeatWorks Model 1. The first question most people ask is, how do I know I have enough electrical power to run it? I'm going to go through a couple of steps that are all covered in a white paper that you can get off our website. But I'm going to start here at the circuit breaker panel. So this is a typical circuit breaker panel, and you can't see it, but the breaker size for the whole panel is 100 amps. When you add up all these individual breakers, it's 300 amps. And what that tells you is that there's actually more power available in the circuit breaker panel than one would believe. There's a calculation called ampacity that your electrical professional can go through, and again, that's covered on the white paper on our website. But what you don't have to be worried about is that, gee, I don't have any breaker space. We do have a couple of spaces here. Because you can actually run something called a sub-panel, and I'm going to show you what a sub-panel is in a minute. But before I do that, remember that the Model 1 auto-senses voltage, and you will set, which we'll show you in a little bit, how much current it's going to draw. Depending on how much current you want it to draw, you're going to have the right size circuit breaker either in the main panel or in the sub-panel, but you're also going to have the right size wire. Pretty much all electrical water heaters use this side of wire to connect it. It's 3 conductor, L1, L2, and ground, 10 gauge. If you want to run the Model 1 at full power, which is 48 amps, you're either going to need to run this type of conductor, which is the number 6, again 3 conductor, L1, L2, and ground, or you can run what's called number 8 THHN. This is a single conductor, but you can get it in 3 conductor versions, which is about half the size of that thickness, and is much easier to snake through conduits and around corners and things like that because it's got a nylon cover. So again, your electrical professional will tell you what size wire, but we recommend number 8 THHN over number 6 because it's easier for installation. Now I'd like to show you what's inside the box that your Model 1 is coming in. The first part, we have a divider up at the top, and what's inside it are 2 mounting brackets. We call them J-type mounting brackets. I'm going to show you how to install those in a minute with the mounting screws. There's also 2 tie wraps which fasten the Model 1 to the mounting brackets after they're installed, and I'll walk you through that as well. And there's also a low flow shower head. We include this for 2 reasons. First of all, is because we're interested in saving water as well as energy. But the other thing is this actually will improve the performance of your Model 1 by reducing the flow rate through it. Then, this is the exciting part. Here comes the Model 1 itself. And here it is in all its glory. I'm going to show you different pieces and parts of it, but here's the Model 1. If you're going to be setting it down for any period of time, please remember to set it down on this end, which is the power end, not this end with the display screen. And then we have the installation manual, which you can get, you can look at either in the box or you can look at it online for the latest version. 2 things we recommend when you make the water connections are the appropriate size piping, but also the appropriate connections. If you are ever going to connect to any kind of plastic pipe, whether it's PVC or PEX or anything like that, you must use at least 18 inches of a metal or high temperature connection between the inlet and the outlet of the Model 1 and the water heating system. This is more of a rigid one, more of an older style. This is the more modern stainless steel flex high temp on the inside. But you must use either one of those if you're going to connect to a plastic piping system. It's also highly recommended if you want to connect to a copper piping system or maybe even an iron piping system, just because it compensates for changes in pressure and temperature and humidity and thermal expansion and things like that. So now I've moved from the workbench over to one of the test stations in our lab for the installation process. The first thing you do is find a solid place to mount these 2 brackets. They can be spaced anywhere along the length of the Model 1 as long as it's adequately supported. So just find a good, robust place to put the screws in. Then what you're going to want to do is, before you put the unit on there, you're going to want to thread these tie wraps right through here and just leave them loose. The advantage of leaving them loose is you can then tighten it up once you've made all the connections, as opposed to tightening it up first. Second one through here. All right, now we're ready for the Model 1. Now I do want to say one thing. again, we're sitting it on the power end, not the display end, is it comes with 2 plastic caps in. You may see some water coming out, which is totally normal because we test every one of these 100% for functional and water tests. So if there's any water that's in it, it's not a problem. It's just part of the normal assembly process. So you just take the Model 1. Again, this is the way the unit is oriented so that you can read the label. The outlet's on the top, the inlet's on the bottom, and it should always be mounted horizontal. There's no other acceptable way to mount the Model 1. So we take the tie wraps out of the way, put it in its slot, it sits there nicely, and the next thing we do is do the water connections. So in this case, again, we're using the stainless steel flex studs that we talked about. The connections on the inlet and the outlet of the Model 1 are either 3/4 inch or 22 millimeter for our metric friends. And we use what they call stab type or push to fit couplings. So once you've made the connection, you can either connect it to your water head system first, or which we have done here, or you can connect it to the Model 1 and connect it to your water system. But it's just as simple as pushing it on just like that. That's the inlet side. Here's the outlet side. And again, we're in the lab, so we have a lot of instrumentation on it. Now push the outlet side on, and it's connected. The next thing we're going to do is to connect the electrical side. So once you have the water hoses connected, what you're going to want to do is make sure you get all the air out of the system. So we're in the lab, but you would open up a faucet or anything that's ideally close to it. Turn the faucet on, you can hear the water running, and you just want to purge the air out of the unit. If you have a chance, it goes a little bit faster if you sort of gently rock the unit back and forth. But if you let it run for 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5, you'll get all the water purged out of it. And you'll be able to tell by the sound of it exactly when it's purged. And that's a good idea to do that before you hook up the electrical connection, because you always want to make sure you don't have any water leaks. And it's so easy to see with the Model 1. You just check here and here, feel it. If you want to use a tissue or a paper towel or something like that, if you don't have enough light, just check it out. But these push to fit or stab fittings are super incredibly watertight. So now I'm going to show you how to connect the electrical power. In the interest of time, I removed 3 of the 4 screws from the end cap, but just remove the 4th one. The cap will drop out in your hand. Save all 4 screws. Take the electrical cable, and you'll have green will always be ground or neutral, and then you'll either have red and black in this case, or white and red, or white and black. It depends on local codes, but either one is L1 or L2, and they're both interchangeable. But the key is that you put the ground connection in first. So here's ground. There's the terminals are clearly labeled, and they're made to carry a wide variety of cable sizes, whether you use number 8 THHN or number 6. So ground is connected, and we're going to do the black one. So they're nice and snug. And then we're going to do the red one. So it's nice and snug, and just to be sure, give a little tug on them, make sure they're okay. And then make sure you install the protective cover plate before you do anything else. Okay, so now we've installed the plumbing, we've installed the electrical wires. We're going to just check again and make sure the system's purged of air. And again, you'll be able to hear any bubbling coming out of it. Sounds good to me, so I think we're in good shape. Now what we're going to do is power the unit up and set the maximum current that it's going to draw. It comes from the factory set at 15 amps and 115 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and power it up. And you'll see 115 there. And what we're going to do is to set the power. If you want to leave it at 15 amps, you just leave it as it is. But most people are going to want more power. In this case, we'll set it up to full power of 48 amps. So we're going to hold both buttons down. We're going to release the top one. And then we're going to press it slowly 5 times. And what you'll see is the number 15 flashing, which is the current setting at this point. Then you'll just push the up button to go to 20 amps, 25 amps, 30, 35, 40, 45, or 48 amps. And you can go up and down as much as you want. And by the way, you can do this anytime during the life of the unit. So if sometimes you decide you want more power later on, if you have it set at 30 amps and you want more hot water, you can set it at 48, so it isn't just a one-time shot. And once we set it at 48, you push both buttons, and you'll move that to 115, and now the unit's set for 48 amps. Now what you want to do is feel for hot water, beautiful hot water, and you can just adjust the temperature up or down. The firmware limits it to say 120. We think 115 is probably about the right setting for energy savings and the amount of hot water, but you can move it up and down as you like. And again, for our metric friends, if you push both buttons and release the bottom one first, it will show you the temperature in degrees centigrade. You can go back to Fahrenheit by pushing both and releasing the top one, degrees Fahrenheit. That is the functional part of the assembly process and installation process. And so now all that's left to do is to take the tie wraps, not so easy with wet fingers. Tighten those up, get your wire cutters, trim them off, slide them down so it looks stylish, and you're done. Thank you very much for your time.